Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we're taking a look at something. I say this often that I'm really excited to bring this to you, but in this case I really am because this is a real piece of nostalgia from me. From the Masters of the Universe Origins collection, this is the Matty Collector exclusive Rokkon. Now, for those of you who may not be that familiar, what has happened with the Masters of the Universe Origins line is that basically the toy and original concept figures, like Rock On here, other members of the Snake Men, Wondar, have all been moved as Matty Collector exclusives. The retail line will now be exclusively the Filmation cartoon series, which, He-Man, Skeletor, Man at Arms, they've already been released, and they're going to be using um, a slightly modified buck of the figure that's a little more cartoon proportioned. Also, there'll be the usual exclusive runs and stuff like that, like Masterverse Snout Spout, which is coming next week. This was actually supposed to come in May, but people started getting it right away, and I actually got mine the other day. So the reason this is a bit of nostalgia for me is Rock On and its partner Stondar, who were these. At first I thought they were always thought they were transforming rocks. They're actually transforming meteors. Uh, they come from the planet Geolysis. It's like a geology, but geologists. These were two of the last, if not the last, Masters of the Universe figures I actually got as a kid. And I was funny. It's like the other day when I got it in hand, I actually thought about the first time I saw Rock On in Stone Dar. I was traveling out to Long Island with my father and sister. We actually went to a bit of like a Mattel Expo where they were revealing and demonstrating their line for Barbie and He-Man for the upcoming year. And it was this beautiful presentation. They had this beautiful diorama that looked right like the rocky hillside outside Castle Grayskull or Snake Mountain. Then they presented the toys, and Rock On and Stone Dar, they had it set up that they would flip open very quickly. I also remember trying to have a conversation with a uh, guy in a Zodak, not Zodak, Hordak costume. But it was a really fun day, and shortly thereafter, my mom surprised me with both Rock On and Stone Dar. And I mean, at first I was a little upset, but that's just because I am not a big fan of surprises. But eventually I grew to be quite fond of them, and both Rock On and Stone Dar became not only some of my favorite figures in the Masters of the Universe line, but also some of my favorite figures from my childhood. I go back and forth about who's my favorite. Rock On had that bluish exterior that we see here, while Stone Dar was a little more blue on the interior. So, it goes back and forth. Now, I do have the classics version of Rock On and Stone Dar. I don't know where they are right now. I actually never opened the packaging, but apparently they were very different from the original toys. Instead of just being the toys with knees and elbows, there's apparently that you can remove the shells and stuff. This is actually very closer to the original toy with knees and elbows, although, as we'll get into when we look more into the figure, um, does the knees and elbows take away from the play feature? Now, you might be wondering why the Masters of the Universe line would put out a figure like Rock On and Stone Dar. And keep in mind, Rock On is like the young warrior. Stone Dar is the wiser, older mentor. And by the way, I kind of understand why they did it like this, but I really think since it's going to be like a Matty Collector exclusive, they should have done Rock On and Stone Dar as like a set. Because now I'm kind of concerned after reading the comic that came with this figure that Stone Dar is going to be lumped in with a bunch of other repaint new heads of rock creatures that really were never in the show. They did actually appear in the animation of She-Ra, as did a lot of that later Masters of the Universe stuff. But I don't want to have to pay for like three, four figures just to get one that I want. But that's an aside. But the reason why they started doing characters like Rockon and Stondar, the Orbots, which go look them up. That's a kind of interesting thing. That was Mattel selling Takara or Bandai product. But anyway, uh, Dragster was because within, I would say, like a year, Transformers had overtaken the boys' toy line and have actually were outselling Masters of the Universe quite significantly. That they were trying to infuse the line with a transforming type gimmick. So there is that. Now, we're starting off in its figure form, and this is basically what I would call its ready position, where this is where you can get the most out of the articulation. First of all, we have to talk about the blaster. This, what I'm doing right now, this is nostalgia for me. Just spinning the little radar dish right there. On the original toy, it was chromed, but I think in the cartoon, it was actually more of this like silverish color. There really wasn't chrome in the She-Ra cartoon. Gonna have to try and find that episode. I think all the episodes are streaming online. There's an official He-Man channel. But yeah, now originally you would store the weapon like this in the chest for uh, transformation, but you can also use it here as a weapon. And what's nice is there's now a waist swivel. I think the original toy had a head swivel, but because of that chunk of rock on the back of the head, you kind of get him like looking forlorn, like, oh dear, oh my. But yeah, so you can get some fun posing out of it. And if you use the transformation joint, you can move it around a little. I should mention that in terms of the modular playability to these figures, the head, arms, waist, and feet are all removable. Why you would want to, I don't know. Speaking of the arms, you do have an armpit joint. You don't have a bicep swivel, but you have a swivel at the elbow, and you do have a very tight elbow joint, which go about 90 degrees. You also have a wrist joint for the hand, and the hand does have the hinge to bend. Now, to be honest with you, I can't get my fingers in there to bend the joint, so there's that. The legs obviously are going to be a little more limited. You do have like the outward movement, the forward and back movement, but that is all blocked off by the rock pieces. Now, the knees, you do have a single jointed knee, very hard to bend, and what's the issue is not only does it swivel here at the knee, it also swivels here at the boot, which is kind of part of the transformation. So if you have a problem getting your figure to stand, make sure that the knee and the boot are all lined up. Finally, you do have some forward and back foot articulation, as well as some ankle pivot. But I mean, now all that articulation is nice, and allow me to demonstrate that, like on the original toy, you can't. The Rock-On can hold its weapon in the hand. There's actually a secondary peg here, and you're actually turning the weapon sideways now. But what I was going to say is, with all this articulation, it unfortunately does affect the ability for the figure to turn into a rock. So it raises the question: um, is this more? I mean, what would you want from a modern version of Rock-On? Would you want the feature that the character is known for, which is the transforming into a meteor? Or do you just want modern articulation with the meteor feature suffering? Personally, I would have taken a figure that was maybe fixed from the waist down in terms, give us like maybe some ankle pivot, but in that classic Masters of the Universe pose, if it meant we had a better and tighter meteor form. Maybe even just fix the arms at the elbow, but give us like the shoulder joints or something. I don't know. I just think there was something a lot better that could have been done. Now, speaking of the transformation, let's get into it right now. First of all, we're going to just go ahead and reattach the blaster there. You don't have to, but it's weapon storage. Why wouldn't you? And now the figure doesn't come with any instructions, so I'm going back off of what I remember doing as a kid. So the first thing you want to do is make sure the hand is flush against the inside of the shell and turn it at the elbow to close it up. And you have this very nice, like a shield type of thing. And if, I wish there was a way to plug the weapon in sideways so you can do maybe like a classic. Oh, wait a minute. Well, you can do it like that, but that classic look. Bring the arms up so they're 90 degrees from the body. And now what you want to do is grab the head and bring it down all the way on that transformation joint while at the same time rotating at the that elbow joint to close the front. Next, what you're going to do is rotate. I end up usually just rotating at the foot to close up the panels here and then bring the legs up and nothing pegs in. There's no finishing movement, but you're going to end up something that looks like this. It would have been nice if there were some tabs to like help line things up. I mean, there is cutouts in the rock. Now, unfortunately, the hips, maybe it's just mine, they don't close far enough. You have to rotate to do that, and then you can rotate that, and you end up with a sort of okay looking rock mode. But yeah, um, you can get it okay like this. Um, but that's about it. And of course, you are going, as people have pointed out, you're going to have his rock butt sticking out. So, yeah, that's about it. One thing I liked about Stone is Stone had longer teeth sticking out that hopefully, if we do get a classics version, will help close up the back a little bit better. But other than that, the packaging was fantastic. Had a great little comic, great artwork. Um, no tape, resealable, easy to open, easy to close. So just to go back, open up the legs here, straighten them out, bring up the head, bring down the arms, bring them forward like so, just like this, just like this. And there's Rokkon back in its humanoid rock form. So yeah, obviously this is not like a highly articulated figure, and unless you have the nostalgia for it, like I do, I don't know if you're going to remember Rock On. Now I don't think it's actually in stock right now at Matty Collector. You might want to check because it was up for pre-order, and I don't think it was made to order, but it was something similar. You might be able to get it, and you might get that later release that will come in May. But I'm very happy to have this figure, and I'm looking forward to Stone Dar. So that's about it for the review. If you like this review, like, comment, and subscribe. Well, I always appreciate the views. The likes, comments, and subscriptions help with the algorithms. Um, as always, I also have a Patreon. It's www.patreon.com slash chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. You guys know the spiel, but you also should know by now that if you can't swing the dollar a month or $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. We had a very great end to 2023, and while 2024 has started off a little shaky, I'm still happy that we were able to work together. So, yeah, that's about it. Once again, this is your old pal Chuck for Masters of the Universe Origins Rock On. We will see you next time.